Hey friend, welcome to Self-Transformed, a podcast dedicated to transforming your health in less time and guilt-free through the power of habit hacking. This isn't your typical wellness podcast, friend, so hang on tight. I'm your host, Emily Nichols, habit and fitness coach and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I know the struggle is real when it comes to taking care of you. As a busy working mom myself, my clients and I have felt physically and emotionally drained, but lack the time and confidence to actually make ourselves a priority. Plus, all the health advice out there is so confusing and overwhelming, right? Redefining what true health really means paired with habit strategy from the female perspective has been the key to empowering my clients and even myself to finally create a consistent, healthy lifestyle that doesn't feel hard or just like another thing on your long to-do list. I'm now on a mission to equip you with these same sustainable habit hacks and affordable tools to help reset your habits in any season of your life in order to help you thrive. So if you're ready to habit hack your health and create your transformation together, then let's do this. Hey gang, welcome to Self-Transform. This is not your regularly scheduled Habit Hack Thursday. Don't you worry, it will be back next week. But I am really excited to share something with you today that I've been working on. Something that I felt was called to my heart, something that I've been talking about over and over again with a lot of ladies lately, And that is that as women, we have to do our healthy habits differently, right? We have to do our healthy habits differently. We don't have the same 24 hours in a day as others, as men in particular. And when I've been thinking about all of the coaching that I have received, I became a behavior change specialist after going down the fitness realm. And what a behavior change specialist means is I specialize in habits, habit change. I geek out on habits. But all of the learning given to me or that I went and obtained was wonderful. It was great. But it was all from a man's perspective, right? So when I've been really thinking about this, and I've been praying about it a lot too, I thought it would be best to launch a new podcast. So hear me out. This is a limited series called Atomic Habits for Women. As women, we have to do our habits differently. And I have all talked about Atomic Habits by James Clear until I am blue in the face. I love his book. I love his strategy. But sometimes I feel like a lot of the books that I've read, the training I've received as a behavior change specialist, a lot of times it comes from a man's perspective, which is fine. I can take that energy and education and apply it to my real life. I'm a behavior change specialist. I am a fitness and habit coach. That is what I do. Now, that's not to mean I don't have my you-know-what together all the time. I don't, but I'm constantly working on it, and that's how I coach my clients as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to do habits differently. I want to give you a little context about why I have designed a new podcast. You're like, girl, why do you don't even have time for this? I do, because it's a limited series. It's limited, it's short. I'll get into the details with you in a moment. But I'm so excited to announce Atomic Habits for Women. Like I said, it's a limited podcast series from Self-Transformed. And when I was thinking about titling this podcast, I love the term atomic. I love the book Atomic Habits, but we're going to be talking about some of those concepts from a female perspective. So what does atomic actually mean? So it means of forming a single irreducible unit or component in a larger system. So pretty much what that says to me, it's tiny little particles that add up to something massive, explosive, if you will. But you have to have those tiny particles to make that big kaboom, right? I like to think of that same thing in the way that I teach habit strategy and from a female perspective. It is tiny little things that we are doing over time. I talk all the time about how it takes 21 days to form a habit, but maybe as women, it takes us a little bit longer. So let's talk a little bit about it. As I was researching this and seeing if this was something that I could educate myself and then you on a little bit more. Like I said, I've taken with my own certification, my own habit training from authors like James Clear. You've heard me talk about Dr. BJ Fogg from Tiny Habits. I love their books so much. But like I mentioned, we just don't have the same 24 hours in a day as men do. I was thinking about this with my husband the other day, and depending on the time of year, my mental capacity is pretty thin sometimes, right? I got so many things going on, managing all the kids and stuff, and then my schedule, and then, making sure I'm communicating who needs picked up when. And he doesn't have all that. I mean, it's not to say he doesn't help out. It's not to say I don't ask for help or set boundaries. But I think as women, we just take that on ourselves, right? Let's be real. We just take that on ourselves. We've talked about the invisible load of motherhood in particular on the show before. And what that means, it describes the unnoticed and uncompensated, maybe we're compensated with love, right? But it's the actual monetary, uncompensated, physical, mental, and emotional labor completed behind the scenes to keep our households happy, healthy, and running smoothly. I get a lot of laundry done, but it doesn't always get folded, and I feel really bad about that sometimes, and that's looming over my head a lot of times. It's in the back of my mind, those things I haven't done, or, oh my gosh, I should vacuum, and I forgot about this appointment, or we did this, or we did that, or we didn't do this, or we didn't do that. And funny, as I was putting this episode together to share a little bit more about atomic habits for women and why I decided to launch this podcast, I got a call from my oldest son. He gets migraines every once in a while, and he called me and he was like, "Mom, I'm getting a migraine." He gets the blurry vision. He was like, "Can you come pick me up?" It's like, sure. I was in the shower when he called. Of course, I answered the phone in the shower. I'm like, give me 10 minutes. I had everything set out to come record some of this episode and an interview I have later today as well. So I had to put that off. Luckily, I had gotten my movement and my workout in after I got back from coaching earlier this morning. I'm always having to drop things for your kids, right? We have a lot of interrupted time. And that's okay. We do that because being a mom is like one of the most important jobs you will ever have if you are blessed to become a mother someday. We have to think about being consistently flexible. It might take us a little bit longer to form a habit. I've even coached because I learned from James Clear to, don't miss more than 2 days. Well, maybe some days you have to miss more than 2 days on something because your kid is sick. Or, after I got home from picking up my son, my geriatric dog had a number 2 on the carpet as well. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. So there's a lot of extra things that pile up just being a mom, being a working mom at that. I don't think a lot of habit strategy addresses that as far as giving yourself grace, giving yourself a little bit more time to let some of the habit strategies that I personally teach to take effect. That's a big reason why I decided to sunset Self-Transform You. I didn't feel like the program was great, but I felt like it could be a lot more expansive and a lot more doable for women. Okay. But the other reason I decided to launch this private podcast is the actual healthy habits aspect of itself. So when it comes down to our health, I feel, especially as women, we have been overwhelmed by diet culture and we try to implement habit strategy, or we try to do all the things at once. Girl, I can't tell you how many times I was meal prepping, working out, like going to write nice things about myself to my journal. Monday morning, by Friday, it was gone. It was gone. It was too much. It was too much. Because I have that invisible load of motherhood over my head too. It's just too much. It seems like it's not that much, but it's a lot. It's different for women. The challenge is that health is overwhelming. We have no consistency. For the longest time, women were telling me, I just can't stay consistent. I just can't stay consistent. Well, consistency will beat your intensity every time, right? Or maybe you just need that accountability as well. And that's sometimes we're lacking that, and that's okay. I mean, and as a fitness professional myself since 2017, I've seen a lot of BS happening in the health and wellness world, to tell you the truth, right? I have some tried and true food freedom, food hacks, being more aware of the way I eat from being a Whole30 coach in the past as well. I have been able to find my own version of food freedom, which, includes tacos and margaritas and cookies, just not all of them at once. But we aren't taught that. We aren't taught that. I'm 41. I remember my mom dieting. I remember, Jane Fonda workouts. So fun. And I remember it was all about being skinny, and that's what, I grew up with. But as I was digging even deeper into health and women, I found a couple of studies that I think you'll find pretty interesting. The first one is a study from the Mayo Clinic, and they surveyed men and women, and they found that women had lower self-reported levels of physical activity and lower confidence that they would actually maintain that activity. I was like, yes. We have lower self-reported levels of physical activity, but we have even lower confidence that we could even maintain it. Oh my goodness. And if you've read the book, The Power of Habits from Charles Duhigg, it's a great book. It's from 2012. And I found an article where he is even saying recently that maybe we need to see habit formation differently for men and women. He brought up for women exposure to stress-related cues. This was in a study as well. For women, exposure to stress-related cues triggered addiction impulses. So seeing a photo of a child in potential danger, for instance, caused females to crave a glass of wine or cocaine. Female addicts, not just an everyday person, but female addicts, right? That sense of danger, that high stress type of situation, we're craving things that maybe aren't so good for us, like emotional eating, or we are just so lethargic and need a nap, we aren't going to move our body because we're I can't even physically move myself from the kitchen to my bed each night without getting there fast enough, right? So I think that's really interesting. So we find ourselves trying and then just getting so down on ourselves when we fail. But guess what? We have to do habits differently. We're going to fail. It's a matter of having some type of backup plan on those days when things don't go to plan, which might be a lot of days, right? So I feel so passionately about this. I've been praying about this. I've been thinking about you in particular a lot, about why I would want to, how I could better serve you. So I decided to do this private podcast series. So I love podcasting. With almost 200,000 downloads of Self-Transformed, that is how I communicate with my audience. Obviously, you all have resonated with an episode, or you listen religiously every week, and thank you. I'll give you a big hug. Go leave me a review in iTunes. I love you so much. Thank you. Literally, I thought just my mom would listen, and my husband the first couple episodes, and he was like, I'm not your target audience. But I know that this format is leading me to you. You like listening to podcasts. And if you're like me, you like listening to podcasts because I can listen to it in the shower, in the car, doing dishes, making dinner, or just walking, right? I need something on the go, something audio. So I was like, okay, instead of just making another download or a video training, there's a time and place for that. And I have the Healthy Habit Reset, which is a great free masterclass to teach you some basic habit strategy. But when really wanting to dig deeper on how women have to do healthy habits differently, not just the habit strategy, but the actual healthy habits, I decided to launch the Atomic Habits for Women, this limited series. So the episodes are short. They are short. There's only 5. Okay. But my my big goal is to give you some actual wins and actually help you. So yes, there will be homework, there will be action items after each episode. It should not take you any time at all. But I'm a big believer in taking action, not just listening to the podcast. You'll also be emailed an actual Cliff Notes version of the of Atomic Habits for Women. I know I don't want to give you another download, but I am going to give you this download so you can kind of see the Cliff Notes, kind of like how I share my 3 biggest takeaways after every interview. This will be your Cliff Notes that you can just see in your email as well. And I want you to be, after listening to this, have some action items and feel that momentum and feel fired up and ready to give yourself a bit more grace, and thinking about being, we've talked about this term before, consistently flexible with your habits, because as women, we have to be. So think of Atomic Habits for Women, this limited podcast series, as a little mini boot camp for you, if you will. Okay. So there is a link in the show notes for you, but you can also just go to bit.ly/Atomic Habits for Women. After you sign up, I will send you an email with instructions on how to access this podcast. It is a private podcast. I didn't want to put it out there just for anyone in the world to see, because this is just for you and me, girl. Okay? I don't need men coming in listening to our business or anything. It's just real life health it's realistic health from a female perspective, realistic habit strategy from a female perspective. A little mini boot camp, like I said, if you will, all bunched up together for you in 5 episodes. You can listen to it in one day. You can take it one day at a time. But I really hope you just take the step to go listen. Tell me your biggest takeaways, and I hope you just have that big aha moment, because as I was putting this together, I had a big aha moment for you in the way that I am serving you, and this is the way I want to serve you now, and especially leading into the new year, giving you this free resource, because I know you like listening to podcasts. So here you go, my friend. Go to the link in the show notes, bit.ly/Atomic Habits for Women. I can't wait to hear what you think of this. And my friend, I'm sending you a big virtual hug. We got this. We are in this together. I can't wait for you to listen. I'll catch up with you next week on another episode of Self Transformed. In the meantime, go check out Atomic Habits for Women. Hey girl, real quick before you go, if you want some free motivation texted to you every week to help you habit hack your health, send me your favorite emoji to 773-904-2157 to sign up for my weekly pump-up texts. I can't wait to catch up with you there. And if you have any quick questions for me or feedback, it's me on the other end, so text me back, friend. And if you love the show, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way more mamas can find the show. Tag me in your Instagram stories at EmilyNichols22 what you love about the show. Show me your review so I can shout you out. Love and appreciate you, friend. I'll see you next time.